Welcome to Talk ETFs. I'm Sumit Roy, Senior Analyst here at ETF.com. Today's guest is Bruce Lavine, the CEO of NightShares, an issuer of ETFs focused on capturing the night effect, which is a super interesting phenomenon that we're going to be talking about today. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sumit. How you doing?
Great to see you, Bruce. I want to start off at the top and help people who are unfamiliar with the night effect understand what it is. So why don't we start there? What is the night effect?
Thank you. The night effect is this very interesting pattern in markets where historically a large part of your return was coming from the over. And we define that as essentially a buy and hold overnight, where you're buying at the close and selling the next morning at the open. That's where you're getting a lot of your return, and you're getting a lot of your volatility during the daytime session, which is buying at the open and selling at that day's close. So two very different return streams. They've never been separated before. And that's what our ETFs do, essentially.
What's the performance difference between a traditional strategy where you're holding both during the day and night and a strategy where you're only holding overnight?
Historically, in large caps, we were getting about 75% of the return at night with about 55 to 60% of the volatility. And these numbers are just based on closing prices of the spider. They don't include fees and costs. And then in the small caps, it was phenomenal that over 100% of the return was coming at night and the daytime was negative. Those are two of our funds mirror those 100 invested at night, 0 during the day. We have a third fund, NSPL, that is tilts toward the night by an extra 50%, but still invested in the day. And that one, over time, was about 350 basis points ahead of buy and hold, again, before fees and costs.
So how do these ETFs go about getting exposure to the night effect? Do they simply buy stocks at the close and then sell at the open? How does it work?
The first two, NSPY and NIWM, essentially hold cash and treasuries, and they're getting somewhere between a 3 and 4% yield. And then they buy futures on those two liquid indexes at the close, very close to 4 p.m. New York time, and sell them out the next morning, very close to 9:30 a.m. New York time. The third fund has more of a core position. We actually use the iShares IVV as part of the core. And that one then just tilts using futures an extra 50% at night.
So obviously this sounds like a very compelling strategy. Is there any risk to it? Is it just a matter of the night effect stops working? And if that's the only risk, do you expect that could happen?
Great question. So, what the night effect is, you can think of it as almost like a risk premia, perhaps a factor. It's a less correlated diversification benefit for a portfolio. And so the idea is to blend NightShares with what you're doing because it dampens volatility and hopefully captures a fair amount of the return. We've seen in the first two funds where you have 0-day exposure, you can deviate quite a lot when the day rips higher. You can also deviate a lot when the day rips lower, both of which happen more frequently during the day than at night. So, in terms of the night effect, working over time, we have found that it works over time. It's been documented by academics for like 25 years. We have no reason to believe it's stopped working. And so I think things always change over time, but you never know in the moment. So you'd have to ask yourself why it would stop working. There are a lot of reasons why it exists. We think they're very structural, related to institutional de-risking, related to an investor behavior component, that the people trading at night is a very small subset of who's trading during the day. There's no algorithmic trading. There's no people coming on CNBC saying the sky is falling. So we think that the structural reasons why it exists will persist.
Bruce, I want to ask you what type of investors you've seen using this strategy. And do you think it's for everyone? Could even retail investors benefit from this?
We've seen mostly advisors, and what they're doing is they're blending it in to what they're doing. So if you have a core position in, let's say, a passive S&P 500 fund, they're blending in, maybe going from 100-0 to maybe 20% NightShares or something like that. And they're using it in two different ways. One is as a sort of risk-adjusted trade that dampens volatility. decreases correlation, adds diversification benefits. We've also seen it, particularly with NSPL, as a straight equity substitute with a bit of a kicker, right? You're leaning into the night by holding 50% more of it at night. And that turns out to be where you want to add your extra weighting because the night session is the better rewarded session historically.
You have these ETFs tied to the US stock market, but do you envision that the night effect strategy could work in other markets as well?
It's interesting. We're going to launch other funds. And the thing about the night effect that got me so excited when I first saw it is that it works in many, many places. I could argue that what we've launched is maybe the least interesting of where it works. It works at single stocks. It works at countries, sectors. And so we may do some products that go a little deeper into those areas in the future.
Fantastic. Well, that's definitely something to think about. We're going to be looking forward to seeing what you come up with next. Bruce, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.